The Galactic Council's emergency session had been called for the first time in 800 years. Representatives from 12 species sat in their crystalline chambers, their various forms of anxiety manifesting in clicks, hisses, and electromagnetic pulses. At the center of the Great Hall, a holographic display showed the impossible. Human ships, sleek and predatory, emerging from the void at the edge of Zephyrian space. "They're supposed to be extinct," chittered Ambassador Vextai, her insectoid mandibles clicking nervously. "We made sure of it. We glassed their entire system." Council Prime Mordun, an ancient being whose species had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, studied the tactical readouts with growing unease. 3,000 years ago, the decision had seemed logical, even merciful. Humanity had been spreading too quickly, adapting too rapidly, asking too many uncomfortable questions about the Council's methods of maintaining galactic order. Jack Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Unbound, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the Zephyrian defense fleet scramble to intercept them. At 93 standard years old, he was young by the standards of his people, the first generation born in the deep void, raised on stories of a blue world none of them had ever seen. "Admiral," came the voice of his tactical officer, Daisy Morrison, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that would have seemed like magic to their ancestors. "The Zephyrians are transmitting surrender terms. They're offering tribute, territorial concessions, even council representation." Jack's laugh was cold as the space between stars. "How generous of them. Tell me, Lieutenant Morrison, what did they offer Earth before they turned our home into molten glass?" "Nothing, sir." Daisy's voice carried the same ice. Like all of their generation, she had grown up with the recordings. The final transmissions from Earth as the Council's planet-killer weapons had carved through the atmosphere. The desperate pleas for negotiation that had gone unanswered. The human fleet moved through Zephyrian space like a scalpel through flesh. Where the Council had expected the clumsy, brutal tactics of their ancient memory, they found something far worse. Precision. Surgical strikes that crippled without destroying. Tactics that seemed to anticipate every defensive maneuver. Technology that shouldn't have existed. On the Council station, the debate raged. "How do they even exist?" demanded Councillor Thys, her serpentine form coiled in agitation. "We watched their sun collapse. We monitored their system for centuries afterward." "They adapted," Morden said quietly, his four eyes fixed on the tactical display. "The few thousand who escaped before the destruction, they didn't just survive in the void. They evolved." The truth was more terrifying than any of them had imagined. While the Council had grown complacent in their dominance, the scattered remnants of humanity had spent 3 millennia doing what humans did best: learning, adapting, and preparing. They had studied every Council species, memorized every tactical doctrine, reverse-engineered every piece of technology from the wreckage of their murdered world. They had become something new. Jack watched as another Zephyrian fleet surrendered without firing a shot. The humans didn't need to destroy. The mere presence of their ships, impossible as ghosts, was enough. Word was spreading through Council space faster than their fastest ships. The dead had returned. "Sir," Daisy reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Council Prime. They want to negotiate. After 3,000 years, they want to talk." Jack's smile was sharp enough to cut vacuum. "Put them through." Morden's image materialized on the bridge, his ancient features carefully composed. "Admiral Chan, I presume." "I am Council Prime Morden. I believe we can reach an understanding." "Understanding?" Jack's voice cut through the transmission like a blade. "You want understanding? Let me help you understand something, Prime. 3,000 years ago, you murdered 12 billion people because we asked inconvenient questions. Because we grew too fast for your comfort. Because we refused to be your pets. That was a different time. Mistakes were made." "Mistakes?" Jack stepped closer to the hologram. "You wiped out our entire species, or thought you did, and you call it a mistake." Daisy watched her admiral with something approaching awe. This was what 3,000 years of patient planning looked like. Not rage, not the hot fury their ancestors might have felt, but cold calculation. "What do you want?" Morden asked, his composure finally cracking. "What we've always wanted," Jack replied. "To exist, to grow. To explore. To ask our inconvenient questions." He paused, letting the words sink in. The difference is now we don't need your permission. The transmission ended, leaving the Council Prime staring at empty air. Around the chamber, the representatives sat in stunned silence. They had created their own nemesis, had taken a young, curious species and forged them in the fires of extinction into something harder than diamond, colder than space. The human fleet continued its advance not toward conquest, but toward something far more dangerous to the Council's way of thinking: independence. They had returned not just for revenge, but to reclaim their right to exist among the stars. In the depths of space, on ships that were equal parts tomb and temple to their murdered world, humanity carried forward. They had learned the hardest lesson the universe could teach. Sometimes the only way to ensure your survival is to become the thing your enemies fear most. The age of the Council's unchallenged rule was ending. The age of humanity's return had begun, and in the cold depths of space, 12 billion voices whispered from the void. We remember.